And it's so funny that the roofers, the scam artists, you know, the dirty little blue collars are the scammers. But it's when Wall Street gets into the roofing business that this type of shit happens. What's up, blue collar entrepreneurs? Welcome to a special episode. Inside, we're gonna unpack the next Amazon of contracting. Is there a new takeover? We've already seen what Angie's done to disrupt the marketplace. It all started with a sweet old lady going door to door creating a list. When the internet came along, the thing exploded. When they got bought out by HomeAdvisor, a special kind of evil took over, a corporate Wall Street monster. And all of us blue-collar entrepreneurs, we're getting squashed by technology. We don't realize sometimes that these guys are sheep or wolf in sheepskin. And so many people are out there buying leads from contractor, HomeAdvisor, Angie's List, thinking that they're going to a dependable company. Inside of this episode, we're gonna unpack a lot of different things. There's FTC fraud charges against Angies and HomeAdvisors that was brought about the companies in March of this year. More importantly, they acquired Kevin Delaney's total home out of Florida for a very large sum of money, and Angie's is going into the roofing business. They see Angie's Home Services as the next real lever of profit in this $500 million gorilla. And so I want you to like and subscribe if you want to avoid getting takeout by these crazy Wall Street people that are out there trying to take jobs from contractors. The answer is learning how to build your own brand, create your own leads, and evolve in an ever-changing marketplace. I provide all that free content on this channel, and we're fixing to unpack this inside this episode. Let's get started where it all began, the beginning of Angie's List. You know, it's honestly an American dream story. This woman, she went door to door, Angie's Hicks. It all started in the 90s, and she built a scoring system. And everybody understands how Angie's List works. People go to the website, they're basically just answering a simple form, putting their zip code in, and they're getting recommendations for contractors. Once, of course, Angie's built its reputation online, it had a problem though making profit. There was no real profit for years and years, but there was a lot of opportunity in the platform. And so back in, I think, 2017, Angie's List was acquired by HomeAdvisor. Now, HomeAdvisor's goal is to become the largest digital marketplace for home services, for contractors. And contractors, they struggle with technology, generating their own business. And so their big idea is to take Wall Street's money, invest it into generating leads, and sell those leads to contractors. Now, here's the problem, and this is where I want to unpack the actual first article. If you haven't seen this, this is actually from the Federal Trade Commission. This is not some BS off the internet. This is straight from our government. It says FTC charges HomeAdvisor with cheating businesses, including small businesses seeking leads for home improvement projects. And the basics of the arguments have to do with this simple comment from Samuel Levine. He says, gig economy platforms should not use false claims and phony opportunities to prey on workers and small businesses. They prey on you. And what happened is basically a misrepresentation of services. It basically says here that the complaint is that HomeAdvisor will use every tool in its tool belt to have dishonest commercial practices. And it basically says that HomeAdvisor recruits service providers using marketing materials and agents who call their service providers and try to persuade them to join the company's network. Many of the leads HomeAdvisor sells consist of information submitted to the consumer on information. It also resells the leads it buys from third parties, known as affiliates, who generate the leads from web-based forums. And so what happens is these leads get sent to multiple contractors. And what it says is HomeAdvisor's network pay an annual membership of $287, about $60 a month. It brings the subscription fees to about $347 annually. One of the complaints is that they're misrepresenting the quality, characteristic, and sources of the leads. it states that it leads concern to consumers who intend to hire a service provider soon, and many of them do not. They're just saying anything they can to get their foot in the door, selling you garbage, and then they're selling the garbage to 3 different people while they take some sort of reoccurring commission. This happens so much that they have so many complaints that this commission voted to issue the complaint was 4-0. And so, what this tells me is honestly, like, there's a lot of people complaining, but they're still making a lot of money. And this is actually not going to do anything to stop their earnings. This is not really anything to disrupt the growth of their company. There's been complaints about HomeAdvisor. You've heard other digital marketers talking about how this happens. But what I want to tell you a story is actually the opposite. And that is from Kevin Delaney. This is a guy that I know. I actually rent one of his properties in my office in Melbourne, Florida. See, he sort of the king of Rockledge. He has a company, Total Home. They were bought by Angies, and they were bought for undisclosed huge amount of money. So much amount of money that in the second quarter of this year, that Angies actually presented a loss for the first time in many years. So shout out to my man Kevin, putting down the big behemoth and big checks back in his bank account. He is feeding the 500-pound gorilla or $500 million gorilla, because now they're trained up. They're in 12 different states. And, Angie's List is supposed to be this broad platform, but now they're going to be, of course, selling you leads while they, of course, try to sell the jobs themselves. So they're already giving you bad leads. They're already selling the leads to 3 different people. And the irony about Kevin is I respect Kevin a lot. He says one man's trash is another man's treasure. And so he took all the leads that he was getting through HomeAdvisor. And if you go through here and you look at his company, Total Home, they've been rewarded by Angie's List. They've been rewarded by HomeAdvisor. But he recognized that it got his foot in the door. And I believe that all's fair in love and war and getting your foot in the door. And so Kevin didn't care. What I've found a lot of times, and Kevin found it, is a hole in the game. And the hole in the game is that contracting companies don't respond to the leads in a really consistent manner. Either they don't call them within a short amount of time, or they don't deliver a written proposal, or they don't deliver a really legitimate sales process. And by having a process within the process, really making sure that you inspect what you expect, what Kevin really focused on was picking the ball up where others dropped it. And so while the leads may be sold to multiple people, maybe that you call them shitty leads, Kevin built a whole business on being the first there, on being the guy who was the first to give a proposal, who was the guy that was the first to follow up. And so, of course, as Angies is watching this man buy all these leads and scale his company off of their deals, like, man, let me be interested in buying this company. And this is what you do. When your business is so good, you're selling a process, that's when you have a business worth selling. And shout out to my man Kevin for taking trash and turning it into treasure. But the truth is, there's better ways to generate leads. And more importantly, even if you generate the leads, if you don't have a process, you could fumble them. And so that kind of brings me to the future and why you're here. Maybe you're worried about Angie's List buying Kevin's company, which had hundreds of employees all over the country in 12 different locations. At the time of purchase was doing over about 130 million, about the same size as my company right now. As a matter of fact, we would run into them in the market here in Florida. We run into them a lot. And I'm going to give you real quick about 8 different lessons that I took from Kevin, working in competition from him and in this acquisition. And if you're watching this and you're a blue collar business owner, make sure that you like and subscribe for this stuff, because you can get one-sided perspective. But whenever I actually had a conversation with Kevin off the record, he gave me some insight into a lot of this deal. And I'm going to share with some of you this insight right now. So let me go ahead and pull up my notes, because this is pretty interesting to me. Talking about fraud, talking about insurance, contractors getting ripped off buying leads. The idea is that even if the leads are bad, you can get rich off of them and build a $100 million business. And that's really Kevin's story. And so if you look at what makes Kevin great, he was a combination of both a retail and a stormer. I call this more of a storm catcher. And he had a model, of course, on Florida's East Coast that would be in the path of hurricanes, but he had a local brand, both strong in SEO and Google, but also, he's advertising in all different channels. And his biggest business was retail roofing. That's offering cash money for repairs, replacements, offering funding for jobs, generating the leads and working through a sales process where there's a quick return. And that's really where he kind of had that consistent revenue even before the storm. That was the storm of the century, Hurricane Irma. And Hurricane Irma is where things really started to change, and he caught a storm. And when you catch a storm, you get the opportunity to improve your sales process. And that's where I really see from the outside looking in, knowing some people that work with them, they really dialed into buying these leads, scaling the process. They had an inside customer care center, calling the sales reps to make sure the leads were followed up on, calling the customers to make sure that they were happy, getting good reviews, making sure that inside of each one of these platforms that they were getting pushed to the top through HomeAdvisor and through Angies. And so, yes, they're out there knocking on doors, but they're generating leads. And one of the things is I saw that they paid off a gross revenue. They paid an employee-based sales squad. But that's not the only way Kevin does business. So many of you are watching this, and you're like, retail's the answer. Retail's the answer. It's one way to do business. See, one thing about Kevin, just like he's a little combination of retail and storms, he had an insurance storm division. And one of those things, they would go door to door. They would work for insurance proceeds. They did have a different commission structure. He just had those guys in a different under a different brand, under a different name. And one of the things that Ed Milet says is, he says, you got to recruit goats in your business. He recruited a guy like Tyler Moray, and the owner of Citrus Contracting, into his organization. These guys owned roofing companies. They were real competition in his Orlando and Melbourne market. He united the squad under one flag. Through this merger, they were able to leverage resources, combine retail and storms. And yeah, there's strengths to both models, but it's actually the combination of both models that brought the revenue up, that brought the EBITDA up, that really attracted Angies. And as this changes 5 years in the future, they could have created something that turns into the billion-dollar behemoth that's dominating all of us. I truly won't ever let that happen. See, I'm going to keep fighting for the small guy, and we're going to get up on top. We ain't going to let these Angies, Wall Street guys beat us blue collars. We can get on the other side of it like Kevin did, and we can maybe not sell out, but just learn from how Kevin ran a business, apply it to our business, and have the American dream, which is able to do what you want, when you want, how you want to do it. So that being said, Kevin had a good storm. He had good people in his market. They were primarily in Central Florida. He was in Melbourne. Those guys were in Florida, but they'd work storms. And that's really what he had to do. He had to expand to multiple markets. And through acquisition and mergers and getting goats, he acquired like these multipliers, and they would just get in other markets and use a combination of retail and storms and scale. And this sort of model would leave actual business behind even after the storms brought the surge. And it was a beautiful thing. Of course, hearing about it from other people working in the business, students of Sky Diamonds, friends, I don't know how it was like exactly in their business, but I can tell you, they built the value of their business high. They sold at a very good time. You know, after hurricanes, sometimes the numbers do go down a little bit. And you know what? Kevin said sold his business at a very high point. And I want to, shout out all those lessons. If you're looking to build a business, remember, the one thing I took from an interview I watched, it's the building a process within the process that truly matters. That's truly making it duplicatable, that you can plug anybody in, that if Kevin leaves, that all of a sudden someone else can run it. A Wall Street executive group comes in, and they want to scale this thing to $1 billion. And so first thing that happens, guess what, guys? You want something big to happen. Disruption is the first thing that follows intention. And so check out the disruption. It doesn't matter who you are. Let's check out the kind of disruption that Angie's dealing with in the wake of selling their business. Let me pull up this article right here. But we've got, basically, I saw this article come up on my newsfeed, and I couldn't believe it happened. It is basically a spinoff of Angies. It's all one company, Citrus, Total Home, and a friend of mine, Tyler Moray, they all joined up. And so it's Citrus and Total Home are on one flag now under as Angie's Roofing. And so we're all's fair in love and war and getting your foot in the door savage when it comes to getting leads. Let me tell y'all something about the public service announcement, man. This all started, my dad called it fishing with dynamite, okay? I would call people, even if they were on the do not call list. I should have really followed the rules better. And I was in Atlanta at the time. I'm hit them with a pre-recorded message. It'd go like this. Boop, boop. You are in the path of a catastrophic storm. Please press 1 to schedule a free hail damage inspection. Hail damage can cause leaks. Please press 1. This is a free inspection. Hail damage is covered in full by your insurance. You may qualify for a roof paid for by the insurance. Please press 1 now. Then we hit 1, schedule an appointment, go out there, sign them up, till we hit the same person 5 times and they were calling the cops. But it was crazy, and it's called fishing with dynamite. I kind of stopped doing some of that risky marketing stuff when I was a young punk, back 25 years old. But this is the same type of strategy, and it was employed by Citrus. Don't mean to sling names, but now they're Wall Street, public company, everyone's open to criticism. They did something, I thought it was interesting, a little over the top, and I'll give you some comments on it. And if you ever want to know about a good marketing campaign, that's a marketing campaign that causes a big ass splash. So, you know, shout out to Citrus and to Angie's List. Making a damn splash. This is not how you want to make a splash to begin with. This is one of your first actions as a service company. They sent a text out to people and it says, "This is Vincent with Citrus Contracting. I got your number from True People Search. Instead of knocking on your door and disturbing you, right now the insurance companies are obligated to pay replace homeowners if there's any type of storm damage." This is actually true. It's a 95% approval rate. That's not true. Only for the people that have actual damage. The state of Florida is also roofing laws requiring full roof replacement. That's why everyone is getting new roofs. Well, that's not what is true. They have laws that state that the roofs need to be replaced at 25%. It's very, very borderline. You could say he's not lying. It says if you qualify and get approved, you only pay your insurance deductible for the new roof, which is either $1,000 or $2,500, which is a blatant lie. Sometimes you have a hurricane deductible. Now, there hasn't been a hurricane recently, so maybe they're talking about that. This is going out in the Tampa area. Maybe it's reasonable to think these things are true, but look, this shit will work, dog. You can copy and paste this shit as gold, okay? Because it's actually a good marketing campaign. All you gotta do is get the data, send the spam text, start the conversations, and you'll get leads. Now, one thing I learned when I was doing the fishing with dynamite is that about basically 20% at first of the people would be like, "Who the f*** is this? Motherfucker, I'm on the do not call list." And I found some tricky ways to really not ever get messed with. But the thing about this is you put the name of your company in the text. You put the name of your company and you leave evidence to be platted out on the internet. Now, the cool thing is the insurance lobby owns the media. It's all fake news. All they want to do is make roofers look bad. All they want to do is say we're the reason why there's insurance problems and that and this doesn't do any good to us roofers. And it's so funny that the roofers, the scam artists, you know, the dirty little blue collars are the scammers. But it's when Wall Street gets into the roofing business that this type of shit happens. And not to say that I wasn't a little grimy in my days, but as I've gotten a little older, 10 years later, I would figure on these type of business strategies that this would be cruel and dishonest to an old lady. There's a way that you can sharpen it up. However, I do have a pitch. It says, all's fair in love and war and getting your foot in the door, and let's drop them a bomb for getting their foot in the door on a lot of leads. Also, on getting their company in hot water right off the bat. And so that would take me to the next subject, which is the earnings statement from an investor standpoint. You know, is HomeAdvisor and Angie's List a good business to invest in? And you know me, I want to knock these guys off their spot. You know, I don't know if you're with me, man. We're going to do it for the blue collars. We're going to do it for the boys. But here's the deal. It talks about how services is taking center stage. And this has to get you fired up, guys, because you own service businesses. You can start service businesses with absolutely no money, with no experience. And you can do it, you know, just by going and funding it with customers, other people's money. So the bottom line is like, this is the future of the American dream. The gold rush is in America's homes. And so it talks about this year that Angie Services, the direct booking model that the company began ramping up last year. They go to Angie's List to get quotes from multiple companies. They get shoved one company, Angie's Roofing. Angie's Services has the ability to increase customer satisfaction on both ends. Oh yeah? Providing a better experience for homeowners. Yeah, because most roofers fuck things up and probably can't do a good a job as the processes that are built within Kevin Delaney's company, even without him. So that being said, it says that it also gives the company direct exposure to a $500 billion addressable market. That's how big the home service market is. You think that's a gold rush? You think that's something worth getting into? That's why you need to pick up my book, Contracting Growth Secrets, even if you're not in the business. In its third quarter earnings report, the company restructured its financial reporting to highlight Angie Services for the first time. This segment grew 160% year over year to $117 million, where the core ads and leads business was flat, it didn't grow. And that's at $362 million, showing that the demand is shifting, that we're moving towards hiring people online directly through these third-party platforms, and that this is the future Amazon of roofing. And if we don't get our shit together, that even I have a sense of urgency. I feel it in my loins to fight off the Viking horde that is getting built. And so the truth is that this thing is at something right now. Dude, this company is not much bigger than me. We're about the same size, $130 million direct services company. However, they have unlimited other people's money to invest. They have the incredible third-party advantage of a platform. And it says here that about half of that growth came from its acquisition of Total Home Roofing in July, a company that has a similar business model to Angie, in which it took in leads from homeowners and then found contractors to take the job. See, that's what they value about us, is our ability to execute that process. That didn't used to be a business. See, Wall Street didn't value that as something worth buying until now, and you should just feel very excited that there is a new gold standard, and there's people being paid 5x, 6x, 7x EBITDA on home service companies, roofing companies. And people used to say, Lee, there's no reoccurring revenue in your business isn't worth anything. But I know how to get leads. I know how to find other people to take the jobs. I know how to leave with a profit. And so I can talk all the shit about Angie. I can say all the things about Kevin. And guess what? When this video lands up in the CEO of Angie's desk, who do you think is going to be the next to get offered some big ass settlement check? Look, the goals of my company this year to go from building the values from 30 to 50 million to building the company's portfolio to 100 to 200. Then we're going to a B. And the reality is that, I'm doing it with the Crowds Fund, with the Blue Collar Capital, and I want you to be a part of that growth. I share in my experience, strengths, and hopes, and we're going to be doing that at the Blue Collar American Dream Conference. And I want to tell you right now, if you want to fight the behemoth that's coming down, you need to learn how to generate your own leads. Jocko Willink, he's going to help you take extreme ownership. Dude, if you don't have freedom in your business, if you're sucking the tit of Angie's and HomeAdvisor for leads, if you're chasing down telemarketers for your business, if you're dependent on a storm, well, look, man, I know you're busy. I know you don't have enough jobs. I know you probably need to buy this on your credit card, but I want to help you break free, man. I don't want you to keep getting your ass kicked, and I don't want these people to put you out of business. So, you know what Jocko says? He says if you don't have discipline, you can't find freedom. And you gotta find the discipline and time to work on yourself if you don't have these skills. If we got Ed Milet, he taught me a lot. He's like, you wanna drive your people, you wanna drive raising the status for blue collars, recognize them. And so we're giving away growth championship belts, and you're gonna hear from guys that have basically grown massive amounts, and you're gonna see what they did, how they did it. And you're gonna learn from not just me, but real people who have executed this and seen massive growth in their business. That's why I want you to come May 27th to the 29th. We're also doing a fight for our American dream, a cage fight night, blue collar fight club. This is like a new thing. It's like the UFC, but regular people like roofers, carpenters, plumbers going toe to toe in a cage, MMA, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing. People go down. There's one man that wins. There is the ultimate lie detector in the cage. And there is no snowflakes in that arena. And so we're tired of all the bullshit softies in the world. And I don't know if you watched the movie Fight Club, but it's a modern day blue collar fight club for real. And we're raising money for Folds of Honor. Dan Rooney, he's the man who founded the Folds of Honor. And we're basically giving a portion of all ticket sales to the fight. I hope so far we've raised, I don't know, I think it's up to like $10,000. We should raise at least $30,000 to $50,000 for Gold Star families that night. Jocko Willing's going to be present. Dustin Poirier is going to be present. He's going to share what it's like to come up from nothing, be an underdog, and reach the American dream, even after you have to fight for it and get the shit beat out of you along the way, guys. It's going to be off the chain. And I'm going to tell you, you don't realize it, but everybody's in a fight with this Angie's company. Everybody's in a fight with Wall Street and big tech that's coming for your jobs. And you may not recognize it, but I want you to take ownership that if you do not change, the future will eat you alive. And this is an example of that.